Hey guys, it's Extreme Strategy here, and today we're checking out the Doom of the Mortal Realms mod for Total War Warhammer 3. And this mod adds in units that the mod creator believes should be in the upcoming DLC, Champions of the Chaos Gods, but that we have not seen in any of the pre-release videos. And he intends to be adding in units for all of the 4 Chaos Gods, but so far has only done the Khorne units. So we'll be covering all the Khorne units inside of today's video. First up, we have the Chaos Marauders of Khorne Spears. They have anti-large, charge defense against large foes, and flaming attacks, as well as rage, frenzy, and hellblade. Inside of combat, infantry is not their main focus when it comes to what they will be fighting. However, they can still hold out against infantry just fine. Unlike some anti-large units, they're not completely useless at fighting anything that isn't on horseback or a monstrous unit. So the Chaos Marauders of Khorne with spears will be able to do just fine inside of any early game fray. Next up, we have the Chaos Marauders of Khorne Great Axes. They are armor, piercing, and flaming attacks, as well as rage, frenzy, and hellblade. Inside of combat, they do far better than the spearmen when it comes to fighting against infantry, being able to tear them apart, not necessarily easily, but they can most certainly do it. Each time they swing their axes, they're guaranteed to do at least some damage, unless they wound up getting dropped by a spear beforehand. Them fighting spearmen probably isn't the easiest task, but it's still one that they can accomplish nonetheless. Next up, we have the Chaos Warriors of Khorne with great axes, armored and armor piercing, but they only have frenzy. And inside of combat, they are tanks. With the heavy armor, they wind up not taking a whole lot of damage, but being able to do decent amounts of damage to the enemies every time they swing their axe, dropping an enemy soldier, and slowly but surely making their way through the massive blob of peasant long spearmen, so that way they can get through to the lord at the back, who has his back facing the wrong direction. Genius AI. Just genius. And then when fighting said magistrate, who is so smart as to not even face the right direction, they are going to absolutely tear him to shreds, ripping him apart with extreme ease. Next up, we have the Marauder Champions of Khorne, armored and shielded, damage dealer, and flaming attacks, as well as frenzy, hellblade, and blood greed, as well as being unbreakable. And inside of combat, these units focus very heavily on dishing out damage, but they do have enough armor to be able to fend for themselves without the need of support. These units can easily tear apart an enemy force, and because of the fact that they're unbreakable, you'll literally have to kill all of them in order to get them to die, because they will fight to the last man. And then against a single entity target, well, that single entity target is basically dead in the water. Considering the fact that, once again, they're unbreakable, a single entity target such as the Lord or Hero will most likely physically not be able to dish out enough damage to actually bring down a group of the Chaos Champions of Khorne. Next up, we have the Marauder Champions of Khorne with great axes, armored, armor piercing, damage dealer, and flaming attacks, as well as frenzy, hellblade, blood greed, and unbreakable. And of course, inside of combat, these units, just like the normal Champions of Khorne, will be able to dish out an absolute ton of damage, easily ripping through units, focusing very heavily on dealing out the damage, while also being able to fend for themselves. These are just an absolutely brutal force to attempt to stop inside of combat, as with every swing of their great axes, an enemy will hit the ground dead. And next up, we have the Marauder Hunters of Khorne, armor-piercing missiles and decent melee combatant, as well as rage, frenzy, and hellblade. And these units do very, very well inside of combat, as they can hurl their axes, taking down an absolute ton of enemies, leaving a trail of bodies. And inside of melee, the decent melee combatant is actually correct. For once in the life of this game, it is actually correct, as they will easily be able to rout weak enemies inside of melee combat, and then they can shred them as they run away with their ranged axes. Next, we have the Marauder Hunters of Khorne with Javelins, anti-large, and decent melee combatant, as well as, of course, rage, frenzy, and hellblade. And then inside of combat, they won't do as well against infantry as the ones with throwing axes. However, they'll still be able to certainly drop enemy units, but their main strength is actually going to be fighting against single entity targets, as this poor Lord Magistrate is about to find out, as currently he's just getting shot up over and over again, and each time a volley is hurled, having a massive chunk of his health be taken out. And moving away from men, we move into the realm of the Beasts of Khorne, starting off with the Bestigors of Khorne, armored, armor-piercing, damage dealer, and flaming attacks. They have primal fury, frenzy, hellblade, and blood greed. Inside combat, they just come crashing on into the enemy, attempting to inflict as much damage as possible, and doing so very easily, as these are the Bestigors of Khorne. They are the beastmen who have been corrupted by his power, and they they absolutely destroy an enemy with ease. But this is the weaker of the Bestigors, as it has two other variants, one of which is the Bestigors of Khorne with dual axes, armored, armor-piercing, anti-infantry, and damage dealer, cause fear, primal fury, frenzy, hellblade, and blood greed. And because of that anti-infantry, infantry will absolutely crumble before the rage, hate, and force of the Bestigors of Khorne with dual axes. Infantry will not be able to stand against them, will quickly be destroyed, and the Bestigors of Khorne with dual axes will leave no infantry left alive in its wake. It will be swiftly routed, if not wiped out, allowing them to move on to the next target incredibly quickly. The next target, of course, being the Lord Magistrate, which will not be able to hold his own against this force of monstrous hate. And the other variant of the Bestigor of Khorne is the Bestigor of Khorne with a whip, armored and shielded, armor-piercing, anti-infantry, and damage dealer, with causes fear, primal fury, frenzy, hellblade, and blood greed. This unit quite literally has it all, with the anti-infantry, all of the bonuses, the armored and shielded, armor-piercing, and it shows inside of combat because nothing can stand in their way. They will quickly come through, wiping out enemy units, and then move on to whatever unit they come after next, as they just pile up the bodies very quickly, very rapidly, making the enemy crumble in front of their rage. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Go check out the Discord server and this mod, links to both those in the description below. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.